Hello, my author friends. This is Vandana Sehgal. I am a writer, teacher, and a book writing coach. Today, I am going to share some questions that you can ask a beta reader before sending out your manuscript. But before that, let's step back and understand who a beta reader is and what is the job of that person. A beta reader is someone who reads your manuscript much before it is published and is sent out into the market. The job of a beta reader is to provide you constructive feedback to uplift your story. Think of them as your test audience for your story. Their role is to point out what works well and what doesn't. The feedback of a beta reader helps the writer see the book from a reader's perspective rather than just their own. The feedback can come in the form of writing, it could be through a discussion between the reader and the writer, or it can be in the form of notes and comments which are written directly on the manuscript. Whatever method you choose, it should be comfortable between the reader and the author. What matters most in this entire process is the feedback is honest, valid, and useful. That helps you as an author to strengthen your story, refine your characters, and improve the overall readability of the book. The suggestions given by the reader should state the flaws of the story and tell where the story drops or where the momentum is lost, just for you to polish the story and make it reader worthy. A word of caution from me: it is always in your best interest if your reader is not your close friend or a family member. While family members and friends may mean well, their personal connection to you can bring in biasness, or they might be worried in hurting your feelings. They don't want to criticize your work and they might not give you an honest feedback. Whereas an effective beta reader has to stay objective and true to the story. Their focus should entirely lie on making the story as strong and as powerful. The whole idea of going through this process of getting a beta reader is to make your story better. If the reader doesn't provide you proper information, then you lose the chance of creating a great story. You also miss on time and the effort that you have put in writing that whole story and even going through the process of beta reading. Sometimes, to avoid any kind of emotional connection to come into the story, people or the authors hire beta readers. They are the paid services which the authors are willing to take. Having said that, beta readers could be paid or unpaid. It completely depends on what arrangement you have with your reader. While some people volunteer simply because they love reading and they enjoy supporting the authors, while there are others who charge for their services, they are professionals and they have an expertise into this department. They might have specific skills like genre knowledge or their developmental editorial expertise. And that's when you need to decide if you can pay for those services or you want somebody who just reads your book and provides you honest feedback. So, in short, a beta reader plays a vital role in the writing process by acting as a bridge between the author's vision and the audience expectation. Here, I also want to share a helpful tip. I always suggest my co authors to choose 4 to 5 beta readers because it gives a well rounded picture of how different readers experience your story. Personally, for me, it has helped me to find the blind spot and enhance the quality of my story. For my first book, I Love Myself, I chose 4 people to read my manuscript. One of them was a counselor, and it was a perfect fit for me because my book was a self help book. It had a lot of exercises at the end of the chapter which the reader can use to work on their stress and anxiety. The second person who read my manuscript was an English literature professor. He gave me many inputs to improve the flow of my book. Next, I was lucky to find a friend's friend who was always interested in reading self help books. She was aware of many things that I had written in the book, and she was again a perfect fit for my kind of book. And finally, one of my students, whom I had taught some 5 years ago and was planning to be a writer, read my book. She suggested things that helped me to connect my book with the generation who was younger than me. Now that we have spoken about the role of a beta reader in detail, let's understand the questions that you should ask before even sending out your manuscript. Here again, you need to take a step back. Before reaching out to beta reader, you need to ask few questions from yourself that would help you to understand if you are ready enough to send out your manuscript or not. So the first question that you should ask yourself is, would you be able to handle the criticism received from your reader? Some feedback might be too bitter for you to handle, but might be too important to make your story better. Would you be ready to cut some portion which is not working in the book, or maybe you might have to rewrite few sections? Would you be willing to put that much effort? The next thing to check is, do you have the patience to wait for the feedback or to give enough time to the beta reader to go through the manuscript? If your answer is yes for both these questions, then you can continue watching this video. So the questions you can ask from your beta readers are, what are their areas of interest in reading? Someone who loves reading fiction might not be a right fit or a right choice for a non-fiction stories or manuscript. The next thing you can ask them is that, do they read critically? Because that will give you an idea of, do they have an eye to find out the flaws into the story? Next thing that I prefer to ask is, have the reader ever done beta reading and how much time do they take? This gives me an idea of how much time do I need to wait to get the feedback from the reader. The next thing I like to ask, and it is very important for you to also ask your beta reader, is what inspired them to offer their beta reading services? Because sometimes some people just take up, they will ask for the manuscript, but they might not get back to you. So it is important to know what is their interest in offering these services. The next question you can ask is, are they okay keeping the manuscript private and not sharing it with others? This is one of the most important questions that you should ask a beta reader, because you have to be careful that your script is not leaked out. And the last question that I like to ask is, would they charge any money in offering their services? Because that helps me to understand if I'm ready to pay for those services or not. So these are the 6 questions that I prefer to ask. There can be many more such questions, and each one should direct you in feeling more comfortable with the process and trusting the reader before even you send out your manuscript. Remember, the right beta reader can make all the difference in shaping your book into something that readers will truly cherish. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. What questions would you like to ask a beta reader? Or if you have ever been a beta reader, just share your experience. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button or hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Until then, keep writing, keep improving, and keep believing in your story. Thank you, and I will meet you next week.